massive crash.
From this insane high side.
Whoa! Wow! Oh, dearie me!
I honestly thought that's game over.
To this massive pile-up.
There's contact, there is big contact. We've got
shady
4
bikes.
or 5 riders.
Every MotoGP rider has faced their worst nightmare on track in some way or another. Let's take a look at the worst crashes from each one. Pedro Acosta arrived in MotoGP looking like the kid who'd already cracked the cheat codes.
And zooms past Marc Marquez for the second Grand Prix in a row. The rookie passes the 8-times world champion.
Pedro Acosta is on the podium in MotoGP.
At Balloton Park, he'd been dancing with the front group all weekend, looking dangerously comfortable for a rookie. But confidence in MotoGP has a habit of flipping on you, literally. And Q2 was the session where it all came unstuck.
Pedro Acosta, and now this is a big moment early on in this Q2 session.
The thing is, you can't even see where the bike ended up from that angle. I feel like only Acosta could nearly turn a cameraman into a collectible without even trying. That was nuts. In the wildest part, Pedro just dusted himself off like he tripped over a hose in the backyard, sprinted back to the pits to get his second bike, put a semi-decent quali time on the board, and ended up finishing the GP in P2. Solid as fuck from the young Spaniard. And while that was all quite chaotic, wait till you hear about the next bloke, because his crash didn't just bite, it blew up his entire weekend. Fermin Aldeguer showed up to Assen like the future of MotoGP had arrived early. All weekend he had this calm, terrifying speak. But Assen has a habit of punishing you in the most severe ways the moment you stop respecting it. And lap 6 was where that lesson got delivered with interest.
Joan made nothing that me could do about that. That's horrible.
Massive high side, and then you're a sitting duck. Jesus, that'd be scary. Aldeguer limped away from that one with bruises, a battered bike, and a weekend completely cooked before it ever really started. But the next kid literally brought the entire race to a halt with his shunt. Diogo Moreira arrived at Sachsenring as the Moto2 rider everyone already talks about as a future MotoGP problem. Deep in the middle of a proper title fight with half the paddock tipping him for a MotoGP seat, he was riding with serious confidence. But of course, like MotoGP, Moto2 doesn't care how smooth you are. It'll snap at you the second you lose that tiny margin. And mid-race at turn 3, that margin vanished.
Oh! Moreira, he did not have to make that move. Oh!
Alonso.
That's horrendous.
Moreira limped away, and the race he could have genuinely shaped was over in seconds. Luckily for him, he'd overturned the biggest points deficit in Moto2 history to go on to win the Moto2 title in the final race of this season.
But it is Diogo Moreira who will be your 2025 Moto2 World Champion. It's history for Moreira. He becomes the first Brazilian ever to win a Grand Prix title.
It was this crazy sequence of events that brought about a contract offer from Castro Honda LCR, securing his seat in MotoGP for 2026, as well as his place on this list. I think it's safe to say Diogo's had a pretty wild ride this year. But honestly, what comes next isn't just wild, it's the kind of moment that makes the whole paddock go dead silent. Ayagura's rookie year in MotoGP has felt less like a debut season and more like a medical drama on Netflix or HBO. He'd already broken his right tibia at Silverstone and missed races before rolling into the Czech GP, still taped up, desperate to get some momentum going again. But the weekend didn't exactly start the way he'd hoped, because in FP1, he got absolutely sent.
Within the rear comes round for Ayagura. No wonder the bike is trashed.
Oh man, that was horrendous.
Chill, bro, this isn't high jump or pole vault. The Olympics aren't till 2028. Agura walked away safely enough, but this crash sure as shit left him rattled. After seeing that, it's pretty easy to understand why. It left everyone who saw it rattled. It's a rough one, but imagine getting flicked into orbit like that and then getting run over. Back in 2021 during FP3 at Portimao, Jorge Martin had what has to be one of the most painful crashes I've ever seen. He was riding like a guy who'd skipped the rookie tutorial entirely. The speed was ridiculous. The confidence was scary, and the paddock had already started whispering about the next big problem in Ducati Red. But Portugal doesn't give a f about hype. That place will throw hands even when you're doing everything right. Just like I'll throw hands if you don't like the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Deal? Back to Portugal throwing hands though, because it was turn 7 when Martin found out what was coming.
Yeah, oh goodness me, big crash.
That honestly gives me chills. Like, it's one thing to be somersaulting across the tarmac at that speed on your own, but when you add in the machinery for good measure, yeah, no thanks. Hard pass from me. He was taken off on a stretcher, rushed to the medical center, and then straight to hospital, where doctors found multiple fractures that needed surgery. What's coming next isn't a crash you watch though, it's one you feel in your chest the moment it happens. Pecco Bagnaia rolled into round 12 of 2023 at Catalunya as the reigning world champ, looking every bit like the man ready to stamp authority on another title run. The conditions were perfect. He had the front row start, his Ducati was humming. Everything about this race felt like it was about to go Pecco's way. But turn 2 at Catalunya has ended more dreams than it's ever allowed to blossom. And on the very first lap, Pecco was reminded why.
Contact, there is big contact.
Both
We've got
Mercedes
4
bikes.
or 5 riders down.
Bagnaia
Oh,
launches it. And it's Bender that runs over the leg of Bagnaia.
There has to be a red flag.
Yeah,
This is a
flags
red flag.
everywhere.
Turn 1 had enough mayhem on its own, but that's not where Pecco got caught, as I'm sure you noticed. He got caught out at turn 2 with that fat highside, which you'd think was bad enough. But yeah, no. He needed to get run over by a KTM to add insult to injury. Miraculously, he escaped with heavy bruising but no fractures, which is insane when you watch that KTM bounce over his spine like a speed bump. Your heart should have jumped for that one, but don't let it settle down just yet, because shit only gets worse from here. The South African rider Brad Binder had his worst crash back in 2021 at Jerez. All weekend he'd been properly dialed in, fastest in FP1, hunting his first Q2 of the year in qualies. By all accounts, he was looking like a real problem for Sunday. But as we all know, Spain can be very unforgiving the second you start experimenting with new lines at full send. And in FP3 at turn 5, Brad found out exactly how unforgiving his experimenting could be. Made Q2 for the first time that season and stuck it P11, which is ridiculous considering how hard he'd just been. That was chaotic from the Safa, and you could certainly say he didn't have much time to react when shit went sideways. But sometimes a rider does realize what's about to happen, which in all honesty makes it even more terrifying. Maverick Vinales has had some wild moments in MotoGP, but nothing, absolutely nothing tops what happened at the Styrian GP in 2020. All weekend he'd been struggling with brakes, swapping components, adjusting setting, anything to stop the Yamaha from completely cooking itself. But issues like that don't just magically disappear at a circuit built entirely out of straights and heavy braking zones. On lap 17, Maverick's worst nightmare finally arrived.
Oh my goodness me! That's Maverick Vinales. There'll be a red flag.
Imagine doing over 140 miles an hour and realizing your brakes don't work. I think I'll just say it straight up. I shit myself. His M1 turned into a fireball against the air fence. Maverick walked away shaken but uninjured, and the whole paddock let out a collective sweet Jesus watching those replays. And if somehow magically that didn't get your blood pumping, let me take you back to 2019 in the Land Down Under, where the next crash just might. Fabio Quartararo's rookie season was outrageous.
Number 20, Fabio Quartararo. Is he going on the front row of the grid? He's gone pole! Awesome by Fabio Quartararo! And Fabio Quartararo is on the podium for the first time, and that's magnificent for the 20-year-old from Nice.
But Phillip Island reminded him just how quickly it can all go to shit. He'd already had a huge high side in FP1 that left his ankle battered. But still lined up on the front row as the golden child of the weekend. Problem is, the opening laps around here are basically a rolling demolition derby at 180 miles per hour. And before they'd even finished the first run through the early corners, Fabio's race was over.
Quartararo's down.
Both of them wiped out on the spot. Quartararo hobbling away with an already sore ankle in a completely destroyed GP that never got past lap 1. And while that was a horrible way for the Rookie of the Year's race to end, the next incident didn't just ruin a Sunday. It sent 2 bikes and 2 riders flying past legends in a way that made everyone watching feel very, very mortal. Both Johan Zarco and Franco Morbidelli rode into Austria with that kind of elbows out confidence that usually means something dramatic is about to happen. They've both been properly quick all weekend, scrapping inside the top 10 and looking like men desperate to make a point. But the Red Bull Ring has a long history of chaos, and when they tangled heading up the second corner on the fastest part of the track, it decided to test exactly how sharp the luck of these riders really was.
Oh, a huge crash! Oh, look at that! Oh, dearie me!
So many moving pieces, so many flying bikes, like holy shit. Somehow, everyone walks away with their lives. But let's not pretend like Vinales and Rossi didn't nearly have their family trees rewritten in the space of seconds by Zarco and Morbidelli.
How was that scary moment for you?
Yes, it was very, very scary. All 4 riders, but especially me and also Maverick, we were very lucky. We have to pray to somebody this night because the situation was very dangerous.
This is easily one of the most terrifying crashes I've ever seen in the years I've watched motorsport. And while I'm sure those moments made your stomach drop, don't let your adrenaline drop, because the next rider's crash wasn't just violent. Oh no, it was a moment that altered his entire career. Marc Marquez has had some monstrous highsides in his life.
It's Marc Marquez who's gone down and the bike is a wreck. Huge concern faces in Repsol Honda. Oh, good! That's huge! Oh, goodness me! Marc Marquez is down. He's gone again. Oh, that's a big crash. He's not saving that one. I hope he's all right, because that's a fast one.
But Mandalika in 2022 was the kind that made even him look mortal. He'd been wrestling the Honda all weekend. Front end warnings, rear stepping out, the whole bike behaving like a bull itching to get out of its pen. But even by Marquez's standards, you can only dance with a disaster for so long before it finally swings back. And in the Sunday warm-up at turn 7, it swung harder than anyone expected.
Oh, wow! Oh, dearie me! Unbelievable! That is one of the biggest highsides I've seen in 25 years of covering this sport.
That wasn't a highside. That was Mark getting launched into low Earth orbit. Man looked like he was trying to start a space program. And stumbling away across the gravel trap, that looked like one of those 4 a.m. walks home after a few too many. But importantly, he did walk away. The concussion symptoms hit fast, and doctors pulled him away from the race immediately after his medical check. A brutal reminder that even the greats aren't invincible. And if seeing Mark's Mandalika curse in full swing rattled you, wait till you see what his brother did. It was the kind of crash that makes your stomach flip before your brain even catches up. Alex's rookie MotoGP season in 2020 had been building beautifully, right up until Valencia decided to fold him in half. He'd been finding ridiculous pace late in the year, podiums, momentum, confidence, all the good stuff that makes a rookie dangerous. But the Ricardo Tormo circuit has this cute habit of ruining your weekend before it's even properly begun. And in Q1 at turn 11, Alex got a very painful reminder of that.
Oh, massive high side for Alex Marquez! Ouch, 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 ouch!
His butt would have been so bruised. Like, can you imagine? And the high side, oh my days. It seems like big ones run in the family. Alex walked away, but the impact left him battered, blackened, and nowhere near 100% for qualifying or the race. A brutal derailment just when his form was peaking. And if you reckon that was wild, wait until a certain someone decides to test the limits of human durability for absolutely no good reason. Aleix Espargaro's 2022 season was the stuff of fairy tales, right up until Silverstone, that is. He came into the weekend as a genuine title contender.
Aleix Espargaro and Aprilia celebrate their first ever win in MotoGP. It's pure delirium for Aprilia and Aleix Espargaro on his 200th MotoGP start. Aprilia and Aleix Espargaro finally are MotoGP winners.
The Aprilia dialed, the confidence sky high, and FP4 was just meant to be a final little tune-up before qualifying. But Silverstone doesn't really do little when things go wrong, especially through farm curve, and that's where things went very, very wrong.
Oh, dear
Guys, I am convinced.
Now that Aleix Espargaro, this is a big, big crash, you know.
That high side was completely savage. 1 second he's online, the next he's being absolutely yeeted like a crash test dummy. After getting some scans, it came to light that Aleix had fractured his right heel. But somehow he convinced the doctor he was well enough to get back out there. I know this video is about the current rider's biggest crashes, but you need to see what Aleix did next. It was a truly heroic effort.
A standing ovation already for Aleix Espargaro. Through Woodcote he comes, P12 to P1. Aleix Espargaro, a 1:57.966. Somehow he rescues 6th place on the grid.
Absolutely incredible stuff. I sure as shit hope that level of stubbornness impressed you, but if it didn't, you should check this out, because this rider managed to screw everything up before the season even really got started. Enea Bastianini started 2023 looking like Ducati's secret weapon. Fast, confident, and seriously dangerous over a race distance. The move to the factory team had him buzzing. The pace was there, and the sprint race was meant to be his big statement to start the year. But Portimao loves ruining good intentions almost as much as it loves blind crests and downhill braking zones. And at turn 5, those intentions got absolutely wrecked.
Marini's taken out Bastianini. Well, there's been fireworks already in the Tissot sprint. Friendly fire, Marini cleans out the beast.
Alright, I might have been a bit unfair a second ago when I said he managed to fuck everything up before the season really started, because to be fair, it wasn't his fault. Ah yes, friendly fire, truly undefeated. And they have fractured his right scapula, which meant surgery, missed rounds, and a factory debut that went from title outsider to season reset in about 3 seconds flat. And if that felt brutal, wait till you see what happened to Joan Mir at the Red Bull Ring back in 2022. Mir's season was already on thin ice, and then Austria showed up to finish the job. He'd actually started the weekend with decent pace, flirting with the top 10 and looking like he might finally drag something positive out of a cursed year filled with crashes.
Miller on the front end, loses the front.
But at turn 4, the Red Bull Ring is a trap, and on lap 1, Mir got properly fed into the meat grinder.
Oh, Suzuki, Mir down.
Mir's gone down again. Joan Mir's horrendous 2022.
He got launched so hard, it looked like the bike changed its mind about having a rider. The landing shattered his right ankle. Talus fracture, ligament damage, the whole nightmare. He was ruled out of Misano before he'd even left Austria. And while that looked brutal enough to make your foot hurt just watching it, the next bloke, his crash was so violent it left the entire garage staring at the monitors like they'd just witnessed a crime scene. Miguel Oliveira rolled into his home Grand Prix with the entire crowd absolutely buzzing. The pace was there, the Aprilia looked sharp, and for once a fairy tale Sunday actually felt possible. But Portimao doesn't give a shit about fairy tales, especially when turn 3 decides to throw a Honda-shaped missile into your plans. And barely a few laps in, Miguel's dream weekend got absolutely obliterated.
Marquez, he has absolutely slammed into Miguel Oliveira.
Marquez locked the front, Oliveira turned in, and boom! He walked away, but the hip contusion he picked up was nasty enough to rule him out of Argentina and stall what could have been a breakout year on the Aprilia. And if seeing a home race get ruined like that makes your blood boil, just wait till you see the bloke who got launched so violently into the wall, he rebounded straight back onto the racing line. Before Toprak Razgatlioglu becomes MotoGP's newest chaos merchant, it's only fitting that we have a look at his biggest stack in World SBK. Manukura in 2024 was meant to be just another calm, structured weekend, you know? The kind where he just does top rack things and casually breaks physics. But this particular track has zero interest in your reputation, your momentum, or your championship hopes. And in the middle of FP2, it decided enough was enough. Toprak had to go. He slapped that barrier so goddamn hard, I can't even imagine how much that would have hurt. Thankfully, Toprak was able to get to his feet and limp away. Sore, but somehow in one piece. He'd go on to win the championship that year and back it up with another in 2025, earning him a seat with Prima Pramac for the 2026 MotoGP season, as well as his place on this list. I don't know about you, but with his unorthodox style, I can't wait to see him mix it up with the MotoGP boys. Back in 2020, Luca Marini looked like a man sleepwalking his way to a Moto2 World title.
Moto2 returns, and so does Luca Marini. He wins here in Spain. That comes out here then. Luca Marini, the World Championship leader, wins here in Misano.
He had momentum, consistency, and a championship lead that felt solid enough to build a house on. But Le Mans doesn't give a shit about your points advantage. And during FP2, Luca's title run got absolutely nuked.
Oh, huge highside! Oh my goodness me! Oh my goodness! Oh my God!
It goes without saying that a high side at the top of a steep hill is the absolute worst case scenario. He would have had too much time to think about the impact before it hit. Absolute nightmare fuel. Marini walked away from the crash, but the hit rattled him so hard, so much so that it cracked open a championship fight he'd been controlling all year. And unfortunately, after what's widely regarded as the most defining crash of his Moto2 career, he'd go on to lose the championship by a mere 9 points. But if watching a title contender get yeeted like that makes your stomach lurch, wait till you see the bloke who turned one of the quickest braking zones in Portugal into one of the most shocking impacts of this season. Raul Fernandez came into Portugal desperate for a clean reset. Fresh year, fresh bike, fresh hope that the universe might finally give him a break. And to be fair, things did look calm. The pace was steady, the confidence was building, and FP1 was shaping up to be the quiet start every rider dreams of. But Portimao doesn't really do quiet starts, especially when you tip into turn 10 with just a little bit too much trust in the front end.
Here's with the bike upside down. The bike careers into the air fence. Raul Fernandez follows it. Fortunately, the bike had departed the scene by the time Raul Fernandez.
The way he and the bike hit that air fence was mental. Naturally, after a hit like that, Raul was taken to the medical center, ensuing hospital checks and a final ruling of unfit to drive for the rest of the weekend. But if seeing Raul get ragdolled like that made your lungs tighten a little, just hold that breath for the bloke who turned an FP4 session at Le Mans into a full-body chiropractic adjustment no one asked for. Jack Miller doesn't usually do subtle, and Le Mans in 2017 was a pretty violent reminder of that. He'd been having a pretty decent weekend on the Mark VDS Honda, ticking off laps, building momentum, and looking properly settled heading into qualifying. But then, out of nowhere, FP4 went, hold it right there, Jack. This weekend's not going to be that straightforward. And heading through the first couple of corners, Jack found out why.
Oh, dear. Oh, my God. Wow.
Incredibly lucky. That's all there is to say if I'm completely honest. Such a freak accident, and that commentator is 100% right. He needs to go buy a lottery ticket and count his lucky stars while he's at it. Somehow, Jack walked away with only a few bruises and a twisted leg. No breaks, no fractures. He finished the Grand Prix on Sunday with a top 10 finish in P8. That crash would rattle most people. He had a shunt at such speed, it practically rewrote the definition of race weekend carnage. And that guy is Marco Bezzecchi. He loves Phillip Island. Fast corners, big bravery, proper chaos. It suits him a little too well sometimes. He came into the 2024 sprint looking sharp, carving through the pack with that classic Bez confidence where he just chucks the bike in and hopes physics does the rest. But doing corner doesn't play favourites. And on lap 11, Bez had his appointment.
Oh, that's huge! That is a massive crash. That is a huge incident involving Maverick Vinales and Marco Bezzecchi.
He and Vinales connected at full tilt, and suddenly both of them were sliding across Phillip Island like the penguins from Happy Feet. And what a weird and scary crash it was. After being passed by Vinales, Marco got caught in his slipstream and just swept him up completely. Vinales bounced up after the crash. Bez was taken to hospital for checks, and thankfully, there were no fractures. From Acosta nearly taking out a cameraman to Bezzecchi and Vinales turning the long Phillip Island straight into their personal bowling alley. These crashes remind us just how thin the line is between brilliance and absolute carnage in this sensational sport. And if you like this video, this next one's just as good. And as always, thank you for watching.